honestly think the 5 could be very likely, just because now with the line pickup, I feel like that's Celia Core's hero. It's got to be Vitaly Broodmother. We're kind of running out of picks here, and Thunder Predator have to make the call whether or not they're going to start banning out more mid laners, or if they think that, okay, sure, send the Death Prophet mid. And I like
Ooh.
this. They pick the Dark Mago Invoker. This is a treat. This is a lot of fun because again, with Thunder Awaken, they always first phase as hero, so you never really get to see the Invoker unless they're really feeling it. Sometimes even teams ban it out just because they're a little bit scared in those first 4 bans, seeing what can actually fall into his hands. At the same time, they immediately ban out the Tia. Okay, that makes sense. Still have to deal with Pikaz, right? You don't want to give him another hero that's going to let them snowball, because that's the only issue with this Invoker. As much as it is a joy and it's a lot of early magic damage that, again, plays with the rest of your lineup very nicely, you need someone who can now kill Roche, who can get onto the buildings, who can beat this Wraith King. We'll have to see if that's a Troll Warlord, as we've seen so many teams try to run in this patch so far, or maybe they go for something just even safer, pick up someone like the Medusa, as we've already seen Pikaz play in the tournament. But we need someone who's going to do it all, because as great as Invoker is, he needs a partner. He needs someone who's going to be alacrity. He needs somebody who's going to be in front. And the coolest pick I think Thunder Awaken could honestly go for here is the Lone Druid, but we'll see if they actually go for it. I don't know if Pikaz is a historied LD player, but that hero looks really, really strong right now. We already saw it yesterday in the hands of Gunner, but I think even in the carry position, it's just that shard at 15 minutes that I think kind of changes everything.
Yeah, it's such a massive sort of buff up, considering, as you said, you can now get it 15 minutes in. So Hokori not looking in that direction. They follow up the TA ban with the removal of the gyrocopter, which fair enough. Meanwhile, for Thunder Awaken, hedging their bets a little bit there. The Void Spirit ban first, then the Oracle. So we were discussing earlier the potential for the Death Prophet to be shifted into a support position. Thunder Awaken, or at least sort of entertaining that as a possible play, but not necessarily going all in on.
Yeah, and it's also because Death Prophet versus Invoker is not that bad. The matchup is just fine. If anything, the Death Prophet has the wave clear kind of advantage over Invoker. So as long as you're sending creeps into that Invoker's tower, you know where Invoker is. If he's not there, then he's probably rotating on you. If he is there, well, he's not rotating on you. So it's a little bit of safety if Hokori want to go for that option. At the same time, I like the Oracle ban just because there are so much dot damage coming from Thunder Predator. You might as well make them work for their dispels, make them get Yule Scepters and Lotus Orbs, just so that way your Earth Spirit feels maybe a little bit more effective early on. So, like the Oracle band, even though it's definitely a little niche. But now it's up to Hokori. Is this going to be the analog DP, or do we see them stretch out for a Spirit, as Thunder Predator are relatively low on hard CC? They really just have the Earth Spirit silence if they did want to go for something like that. Analog Queen of Pain is still in the pool if they want to go for that. Again, they kind of have to show us what they got right now.
And they are taking pretty much all the time still allotted to them to think this one through. So it's, well, it's a potential risk. You could simply run the Death Prophet mid against the Invoker and kind of see where that gets you on the skill matchup. But the decision is now, oh, is in, and that's a hero that we didn't really get to see a whole lot of. The Silencer coming into play for them. So honestly, that feels pretty good against what Thunder Awaken have put together. There's so many teamfight combos that they want to sort of take advantage of that can now be broken up with that Silencer pick, so long as he's not the one getting jumped in on.
Yeah, and really, I think roll back the clock a little bit. Whenever it was Mars Snapfire first to pretty much always, Silencer was the pretty niche 5 counter where if you catch him whenever they're about to go in, the second maybe after a spell already goes off, the play is dead. And that's even more so for a hero like Dawnbreaker, where you can just stop her rightfully so in her tracks, and then suddenly your engagement is ended, or a hero that's supposed to be saved is just kind of dead. Of course, now that means that Thunder Awaken, they have a timing to play around. They have a timing to play in whenever that global is down. You know, everything opposite about the matchup is true, where suddenly you do just have a silencer. Gardic is a beast on the silencer, though. I am a little bit scared of him, but that's a cool pick. They didn't fan it out. I mean, Vitali does have to play Brood and Sven, but will Pikaz be able to play up-tempo enough and really play upbeat. He's got a really free time, though, if I'm being honest here. If he ever finds Theliacore, there is no one to kind of shove him off and peel him away. He is just going to get right in there in all of these team fights. And again, that's your guy who's Alacrity going in, killing everything. So Thunder Awaken really round out their lineup here.
Yeah, especially considering any lockdown that Hokori do have. You're a BKB on Pekaz away from just not caring about anything at all. So Hokori are going to have to be careful. Those supports have to stay as far away from the Sven as possible while still having an impact in the fights, and that is far easier said than done. So I like what Thunder Awaken have put together at the end here, but the problem is still everyone other than Sven having an issue if Gardic is able to sort of have his way in these fights.
Yeah, and Gardic, honestly, whenever he was picking up that silencer as a solution to the Mars, he's really sick with his globals. He's really tight. There were so many games back then where the arena would go down and then the spear gets cut off and then the fight's over. You just sit in the arena and then you're completely fine. I can definitely imagine that same similar play kind of playing out here. The only problem is that in Thunder Awaken fashion, if they get a few too many levels on their supports, if they have too good an early 10 minutes, then we've seen what they can do where they're another 1 or 2 levels ahead of their opponents. They just start kind of rolling the kills in their favor.
Yeah, we have seen plenty of times just how quickly they can sort of get the ball rolling, and then, well, no one as of yet has been able to slow that train down once it sort of gets going. Dogchamp came the closest, but that was less slowing it down and more just delaying, really, as they still ended up losing that game pretty convincingly. But we shall see. Widge, oh my god, Widge, that's just a bold move straight up the ramp. He is going to get punished for it, dropping pretty quickly, but Thunder Predator are going to get first blood first, as Pekaz was in there with the final hit. So they do make that a 1-for-1 trade. They get first blood, but Sacred is not in a great spot here. He needs to be able to get away. Don't think anyone on Hokori can catch up. And now you gotta be careful. That's another stun coming out from the Sven. They're gonna go for Vitali, looking for this secondary kill, but they don't get it. Analog is there with the Crypt Swarm, as Matthew will fall. Sacred gets in as well, as he was trying to get that Scatter Blast down, and I kind of forgot that he didn't have any HP. So if you're Thunder Awaken, okay, cool. You got first blood. Problem is, you then gave up the next 3 kills, and Hokori, I mean, they gotta be feeling pretty good about that, considering that hero that they lost was really just the Lion.
No, they're going to be very happy with that, especially if Theliacore here can steal the rune away from Dark Mago, and of course he can, so nice little pretty little start. Vitali ate one of Gardic's salves, but he already had enough gold from those kills to send out his courier immediately, so really nothing was lost, and just a nice start, especially with that many kills, especially with Theliacore dying first, even though you did give up the first blood. It just means that the remaining 4 heroes are about halfway to level 2, and we actually see a tri-lane starting a little bit here. It couldn't last forever. We could see him rotate, but Widge, oh my goodness.
That's a lot of damage, even having to throw out the Stormhammer, which now brings us to another point. With that Stormhammer used, Pekaz is done, mana-wise. He's got 10 charges on his stick, but that was the other sort of negative aspect of that fight. You had your Sven throw out 2 stuns over the course of that entire fight, and he got first blood from it, but now it means that he's far less dangerous in the lane, especially for Theliacore and Gardic. Look how far forward they're playing, knowing that the Sven is really only going to have 1, maybe 2 Stormhammers at the most to work with.
No, and it just also means that when it comes to contesting these ranged creeps, Pekaz is going to be more reliant on Widge actually helping him out. Very fortunate that Widge was actually able to get the D word there, but they break the tri-line. They just wanted to give Vitali maybe a little bit of a stronger start here, because Brood definitely needs so, but
was getting beat up. Yeah, 2-man stun gets him out of that one pretty easily, but this is something we always talk about with this Dawnbreaker. Once you hit level 2, you get that point up in the Starbreaker, all of a sudden you have a combo that very rarely are your opposing heroes sort of ready for, even though you kind of know the timing is coming, but it's still just so much coming out so fast, and if Pekaz is here for a follow-up with the Stun Hammer as well, then someone like the Theliacore could be taken down pretty quickly, but for now, the Lion's just doing some support things here. Did that other camp get blocked? Yeah, it did. Widge was able to step in, so No stack there, but there's no creep camp spawning either.
Yeah, and we'll see how much the Core actually decides to kind of sap in this lane, because again, with Vitaly's heroes usually in this team, he wants solo XP, whether it's his Timbersaw or his Mars, and there's level 2, but nice Hex.
Okay.
Broke it up.
And because he does not have a whole lot of health to work with, stick charges have to be used. It is going to be enough to get him away, but that's the perfect response. Widge, I mean, you're sort of swinging that hammer around, that's great, but you are not immune to the Hex from Theolacor, so just break it up. All of a sudden, your Sven goes from trying to go in for a kill to suddenly in danger of overextending.
No, and it's the little advantages. Of course, Widge does have a courier coming out. It's the refill of everything, basically. It's another self for Pakaz, but in the few moments before that courier does arrive, they could definitely die, and Theliacor and Vitaly get a very nice kill, and Pakaz, I think, is just dead.
Doesn't have the stick charges this time. Yeah, he's going to get taken down, and that just feels a little, well, maybe overconfident. I don't know. Not showing quite as much respect. There's 2 points up in that Bola now, too, so it does that little bit of extra damage in addition to the longer slow that got the Olacor into range, so feels like a strange one for Pakaz there. He's low on HP. His teammate was getting regen brought out to him. Maybe just sit back and wait for a little bit. Chooses not to do so. They do end up losing one, and now Hokori, they're going to lose one of their own. Gardic gets taken down in the bottom lane, but Yuma would be the more valuable prize. Unfortunately, Matthew and Sacred didn't really have spells up at that point to continue chasing, but they get one. Under Awaken able to answer back a little bit there. They had given up 4 straight kills prior to that one.
Yeah, and, well, really in classic Hokori style, Gardic dies, comes back, brings Yuma a salve, has some more regen, and they're going again. Okay.
They just want to bully up on the silencer here if they can. Gardic's getting body blocked up by Matthew, and they've got the damage with the scatter blast, and Yuma, this is always one of the downsides to the Wraith King in the lane outside of the Fire Blast. He doesn't really help his support much. It's just going to have to be a sacrificial play, so he's got to let it go. Good news, at least, is that Yuma is not being really heavily pressured directly, but if they can keep picking off Silencer over and over again, uh-oh, now they want more than Silencer. They're going to go after Yuma. They kick him back. Sacred, though, is taking a fair bit of damage, but the Cookie Stun comes through, and they should be able to close that out. Matthew gets the kill, and, well, just when I say there's not going to be a lot of direct pressure onto the Wraith King, he gets picked off ET, so there you go. Shows what I know.
It's really unfortunate as well. He had the Helm of Ironwool delivered from Gardic before he went down again, but there's just so much magic damage in this lane that it really isn't helping him out all too much. But that's also so patient from Sacred with the cookie there, just not getting baited, letting the Earth Spirit set up, not rushing it, and they get the kill for pretty much that explicit reason. At the same time, with how successful bottom is, Matthew has so much gold and so much. He's level 4 already. If he really wanted to, he could easily show up mid or top, and then we could see another big turnaround. And yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to look for the kill onto Vitaly. Now, do they have enough damage? Well, here we go. They're going to try.
We'll see. Oh, well, with Witch coming in, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. 3-man gank onto Vitaly. Theolacor, different zip code, basically. Not going to be there to defend his teammate. They don't really see that coming. The Earth Spirit's off the map for a little bit, but they don't really think he's going to make that kind of rotation until it's too late, and now we might see a fight over the rune spawn here. Roll in onto, onto Analog. The Tornado actually came through, though, so they don't quite coordinate, but they're still getting it. The EMP connected, and Analog, I'm not really sure he has enough to survive. Oh, which misses with the final hit from the Starbreaker. That's actually going to be enough to keep the DP up, and that is a big missed opportunity. If that last hit connects, I think they could go in for the kill and sort of dive towards the tier 1.
Yeah, meanwhile, Sacred Soul kills Yuma, you know. Just your typical Snapfire things. He already used the Wraithfire Blast. He just got kissed on. But at the same time, really unfortunate there. I think, I don't want to say a few misplays, but just the Analog not nabbing the Haste Rune, Lion being forced to take it, and Analog does just pop the Exo because he knows he's going to get EMP'd mid, but What do you do now? Progressing here is very difficult, and they're already set up
Hokori.
in Core.
You don't want to be there. That's a problem. He is going to take so much damage. Analog is trying to come in, but now there's 4 heroes on him. He's got to back off immediately, but Matthew's not going to let him go. Rolling his way forward. Now the Starbreaker comes in for that knockup, and Analog not even going to be able to get the kill. Widge was low, but not low enough. So, it's starting. Thunder Awaken starting to bait their opponents into some of these early fights, and once again, they're the team winning the vast majority of them.
Yep, and it really comes back to the Echo in the bottom lane, where do Thunder Awaken really just need to win one lane, and then it all comes into place? It's hard to say because they are just that good of a team, but it definitely helps when their supports have levels. And even though top lane, it's whatever, it's a Brood lane, lost the tower already, because is just playing Sven, so dealing with the spiders is not really going to be a problem. The miss chance is certainly annoying, and he does need to be careful whenever maybe a rotation comes in where he can get nuked down with the additional magic damage that also happens whenever the Bolg runs away, but at the same time, I think he's not really going to be the focus. But oh god, they're going to Vitaly.
Okay. Trying to get that Brood. Climbing up onto the high ground, though, and just going to look for the TP away. They don't see him in the tree line, so Vitaly is able to make his escape, but that is him getting pushed out of that jungle a little bit. Creating more space for the Sven. Meanwhile, mid, Analog, he's getting hit up.
No way.
Mortimer Kisses
No
come through.
way.
Are they actually going to get it? Yes, they are. And, oh god, they want more. Matthew's rolling forward, doesn't get the rolling boulder stun, but will get the slow with the kick. They drop the urn charge onto him. Gardic just has no defensive capabilities whatsoever there, and I doubted they would get 1 kill out of that, and they get 2.
Yeah, they feel blood in the water. They know exactly how to push forward for it. And of course, that is the problem with Silencer. Until you get level 6, you're really not the best hero. You're really only throwing out that curse and then kind of hoping for the best here. And they're scouting Vitaly again. And Dark Mago, he might need to set up here with the tornado, but if they hit the roll, he's almost certainly dead. And they actually switched to Core. I think that's the easier kill.
Now Analog is here. Widge is going to get sort of cut off and taken down, but not before he does quite a bit of damage to Vitaly, so that allows them to take that and really just turn it into a trade. And yeah, as you were saying, maybe the tornado to start that one off would have been better. Just hit everyone in that fight. But as it stands, if you're Thunder Awakened, you still get the more valuable trade. Dawnbreaker for the Brood. So yeah, it's all good. Dark Mago's going to build himself up a little bit more. And now the question is, what do they look to do here? Because Matthew's still kind of hanging around. He's a little low on mana, all things considered, but still enough to roll in and initiate if they need him to.
Yeah, and honestly, really, the big problem with Hokori is figuring out how we get Analog kind of into the game here. He's died in 2 kind of rough positions. He wants to use the Exorcism on the mid-tier 1. There's no objective for him to take top because his Broodmother's already accomplished it. The real problem right now is that Vitaly is never going to really want to come mid until he runs all the way up the wave. Until he gets that creep wave all the way up to that tier 2, I don't think you're going to see his assistance with this cart, and that just means that this tower gets to stay alive even longer, and Dark Mago is completely satisfied just sitting here, EMP tornadoing whoever shows up in his mid lane while protecting his tower. Meanwhile, Hokori really only have the option to jungle, and I think that's where Analog is kind of having the roughest game on his team right now. He's not really able to feel like he's doing the Death Prophet job, and that's why I think they give the lane over to Gardic, just making sure he can get his level 6 in time. Because right now, you are really level starved from these supports. Core is getting the tome, I think, flown out to him, or at least I hope he is, because he's only level 5. Gardic is going to be level 6 after this wave gets pushed in if you get all of it, but cool.
Wow. That's a lot, and they snap a courier out at the end there, too. They're going to clean up some of these spiderlings. Now, Hokori just losing, honestly, a lot of resources every time a fight breaks out, so I don't know what you really do here. And sort of getting back to the point you were making, you're talking about the Death Prophet not really feeling like you were having the game that you wanted. Analog has the highest net worth. Well, okay, cool. Should have said that 30 seconds ago. Had the highest net worth on the Hokori side until just now, and it still wasn't an ideal circumstance, as Yuma is going to be able to find a pick-off down bot, dropped low, but he and Theolacor combined forces to kill off Widge, and, well, your Wraith King is getting away with still holding that point. So didn't need to sort of get the reincarnation there just in case. They had a 2v1, and that is something that they sort of desperately need here, because Yuma, that's his first kill of the game. So if you can get the Wraith King going, maybe have him take on more responsibilities in these fights, you're going to be feeling quite a bit better. And speaking of fights, you might see one here. Smoke pops onto Matthew. Mortimer Kisses, though, are flying through, but the Global is going to cancel that pretty quickly.
Yep, really nice. They smoke up with both their supports level 6. If it was a bigger target, then they could have looked for the finger kill, but they decided to save it. Very, very smart. But at the same time, those are your tools. It's very unfortunate that Sacred got his Mortimer Kisses canceled, but Sacred's also had such a good point up until right now in the game that he already has a Blink Dagger. We're actually just waiting for his shard. We're waiting for 15 minutes. That's how farmed he is. And here we go. Vitaly finally has time to be here in mid. This is a big fight.
The Solar Guardian, though, coming in without the Global Silence. They can't cancel it, and now
perfect.
they're just going to turn. Stuns coming out. Analog dead. The Yolakor gone as well. Vitaly is forced to run. He'll look to TP out, actually. None of those heroes had their stuns available, but over on the other side, Dark Mago, yeah, he sees Gardic all by himself. That is about as free a kill as you're going to be able to find, and fortunately, they just don't quite know how many heroes are there. As you said, you finally get Vitaly into a fight, but the numbers advantage just rapidly sort of flips, and Thunder Awakened come away with another victory.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, they still get the tier 1, right? They still get the map control. They now can look for, I think, plays deeper in that dire jungle. But at the same time, it feels like it happens maybe just, I want to say 2 minutes too early, or maybe 2 minutes too late. And, oh no, Analog.
Tornado, the EMP comes in, and
well,
Sacred
just respawn.
It's a problem, but now, okay, look at Vitaly trying to make some moves here, getting onto Sacred. Finger of Death wasn't enough for the immediate kill, but they will get it as Vitaly finds the final pick. So Yolakor gets a charge, Gardic gets some int, Matthew rolled in for reasons I'm not sure I fully understand, but now Pakaz, he wants into the fight. He's going to pop that God Strength, gets a stun onto Vitaly. Awkward spot, though. The Brood isn't immediately sort of hittable by any of these Thunder's Awakened heroes, and Pakaz, he's just got to run, but he's not going to make it out. They get the kill with the DOT from Gardic, and Thunder Awaken maybe a step too far here as Widge is not going to be able to jump to that hammer. He gets stunned up in the pit. And just when you thought maybe Hokori were starting to let it slip a little bit too far away, they get a perfect fight in their own jungle.
Yeah, and you said it, it's their jungle. It feels like Thunder Awaken don't really have any business being there, and I do like that Vitaly, he peels back a few of his webs just so he can place them around in this area, because this is a nightmare spot to try and fight the Brood. There's so many awkward high ground, low ground situations, and at the same time, I also don't feel like they understood that Yuma was already here, because of course he TP'd in at the tier 2, and they were diving for Death Prophet, which they did get before, but at the same time, oh, Analog.
Analog's just getting bullied. This is a rough one for him. Last time around, they were able to trade for a team fight. This time, there is no one even close to take another fight. So, Thunder Awaken say, okay, you know, that last one, that was our bad. Maybe we got greedy. Let's get back to basics, and basics is bullying Analog to hell and back. So, they find that kill. They can get a little bit more control in this south side jungle, and maybe push this out a little bit. Widge is the only one who's really going for it, so I don't think that's going to turn into a tower push anytime soon, but just try and make sure Hokori have to operate in a smaller area on their own side of the map.
Yeah, and honestly, it was about time they killed that tower. There was just never a reason for them to stop playing around mid for the longest time there. And everyone is set up around the Roach pit. And this isn't even with Yuma Deso. This is, if anything, them just going in with the Exo.
It's scouted out. This is, I don't know about this. Oh, Sacred. Nice. Okay. Silence down. Hex down. Help needs to arrive. Here comes Widge coming in. Dark Mago throws out the Tornado EMP as well. That forces out the Global Silence, and that still will allow Hokori to chase down the kill that they wanted. And yeah, ET, as you were pointing out, that high ground ward, every time we see fights in this area, I mean, if you have the vision on this high ground, you win that fight in that cliff like 90% of the time.
Yep, pretty much.
Roche. Maybe they don't. Matthew trying. Here comes the Solar Guardian as well. They really are going to try to take this Finger of Death from Yolakor. It does a nice bit of damage. Matthew should fall, but they do trade it out, and this is getting so close. Pakaz is actually making his way over as well. Can he reach the pit in time? He's actually going to go for the kill first, as he does bring down Analog, and that buys Yuma enough time, but now he is going to get hit up by the Deafening Blast. They get through one life, and they really take him down 2 more times, though. Pakaz has the God Strength, so he hits pretty hard. But they need more than just the Sven, and he's not going to be able to survive. Vitaly comes in, makes his presence felt, and this is getting a little bit awkward. Dark Mago's now silenced up, dropped low. Mortal Strike is not enough for the kill, but Vitaly is there to clean up, and, well, Thunder Awaken certainly making it interesting. They're going for that, excuse me, not Courier Snipe, for the Aegis Steal, but doesn't quite work out the way that they wanted to. The kills that they got are okay, but maybe not worth the price that they had to pay.
Yeah, I really feel like they went maybe a little bit too early. At the same time, someone's got to stop Vitaly. He can't just keep getting off these Silken Bowls. It's making it nearly impossible for Pecans to actually get into these engagements. At the same time, without BKB, it's just impossible for him to fight. As soon as you realize, and you can realize really quickly, who's dealing the physical damage on Thunder Awaken's team, then he's just getting singled out, and then you're losing the engagement pretty quickly. At the same time, Vitaly is also just finding the right Orchid target every single time. He stops the Earth Spirit, he stops the Invoker. He's just getting way too much done with really not a lot, and I feel like maybe he goes down here. Oh,
That's a bit of an awkward one. Kicks him out of the kisses, and now they need to be careful because, yeah, Yuma's coming in. Does he have a blink? Not quite yet, but he can still close the gap. Matthew's going to be the one stunned up, which, yeah,
well,
points for effort, but there was nothing he was going to be able to do there.
I'm gobsmacked, honestly. I don't know, that was really weird. I thought he's just dead to rights off the rolling boulder, but he kicked him out. I think maybe he placed like one stone too little, like he killed his own stone with the rolling boulder, so then he didn't have one to kick. But that was weird. That was a new one for me. But I guess at the very least, you still have Pecans working towards this BKB bottom. You're seeing Thunder Awaken really, if anything, trying to split the map a little bit more here. But the problem is they need to do almost another sacrificial play. They need to get the Global Silence on CD again. Otherwise, they're going to get their spells canceled. And previously, they've done a pretty good job. But with the whiff, honestly, of those kisses, it just means that now they can't take this fight because they're not going to have their Solar Guardian, and then it's just going to be a wash.
Yeah, they don't have the tools now to take the engagement, so they've just got to let the tower go. Meanwhile, look at Vitaly sending individual spiderlings up here in the tree line just to make sure there's no TPs in, there's no one sort of laying in wait. They take the tower, they'll take the outpost, and they've got to be feeling pretty damn good about themselves right now. This is a scenario that Thunder Awaken really have never been in to this point. They are actually playing from behind, which, well, so far in this Pro Series, they've not really been used to, but there is some hope for them to turn things around. The BKB is now done on their Sven. They've got a little bit less to worry about, but it still feels like they need consistent or reliable damage from someone other than Pecans. These fights could still sort of go rough for them.
Yeah, and that is the biggest problem, is they previously were just so in on Pecans that when he gets kited, it's just kind of over, and the BKB will definitely help. At the same time, if Hokori can somehow get out, and okay, Sacred is super duper dead.
Stunned,
so.
Hexed, everything. Yeah, they do have it. They could look for the push. Not a lot of defenders in position right now for Thunder Awaken either, so yeah, they're going to go for it. They see their opportunity, and if you're Thunder Awaken, what can you do? You can get caught in the rivers. Dark Mago is going to look for the TP home. That is not going to work. Yuma with that Blink Dagger closes the gap, gets the stun. And was that sentry already? No, they did throw it down later on, so maybe Dark Mago just sort of wandered into one that was already there, but either way, that is a big pickoff with Dark Mago dead.
This might be Rax. They use the glyph top. They can nuke out everything, and well, there's the Ags on the Broodmother, but I think this is just Rax. I'll be honest, the Exo will fade away, and I guess that will be enough for them to just simply walk out. At the same time, though, man, they are playing really clean right now with their advantage here. Not to mention, Analog is going to have a BKB of his own pretty soon, and then suddenly you got to be so careful with your Stormhammer initiations. I almost feel like we need a blink on Pecans or something, just so that way someone can actually start the fight other than Sacred. And he's looking for an Ags on Sven, which is very interesting, I want to say. Don't know if that's really the best choice, but oh, if they can't walk up that high ground, that's suicide. That's a good roll away. He knows.
Good news for the side of Thunder Awaken is that Aegis has now expired on Yuma, so He's down to just his usual 2 lives instead of 3, but this has been really an incredible turnaround for Yuma. He started the game, what was it, like 0, 2, and 4, I think, something along those lines, and 5, 2, and 9 now. He's really been able to, for the most part, put his head down, farm up the items that he needed. Once he was ready to go, then he joined his teammates for these engagements, and you can see the results. 2k up for the Hokori side, but need, honestly, to just keep pushing this advantage. Don't give too much time to Thunder Awaken, as Matthew has a very interesting role. The problem is he's rolling into more than one hero. He's rolling into basically everybody, as he is going to be dropping here. Widge comes in for the Solar Guardian, and that actually might buy them enough time to take this fight, as Picasso is going to try to go in onto Analog. He doesn't get the kill, and now he's just getting blown up. Look at that damage! Just no survivability. The BKB really didn't do enough to save him, and fight's over. Just everybody run, basically, as Widge gets taken down, and because I do not know what you do now, because he goes in feeling confident, BKB and God Strength up, and he just gets melted.
And Thunder Awaken, they make the call to take that fight because Dark Mago gets the pick on Gartic in the bot lane. They know that there's no global, and then Gartic has buyback, and then he buys back, and then immediately ruins the kisses. There's no magic damage coming through. Suddenly the fight flips on its head, and oh, that's a kill you don't want to give up.
X double stun, Finger of Death, easy kill, no buyback for your Invoker, and that clears the way. Wow. I mean, this should be a second lane pretty much for free.
It feels like a reverse sweep. Yeah,
oh,
they called it. Okay,
Thunder Awaken.
I guess.
How does it feel to be on the other side of that one? An early GG call from the team that had been smashing their way through everybody, and Corey, I mean, listen, we've talked about it a lot, ET. This is one of, I don't know about you, but one of my favorite teams to watch. They've been in these Pro Series so much. This has kind of been one of their calling cards. It's a little inconsistent, but when they're on, they can do things like this. They just ran Thunder Awaken out of the building.
Yeah, and I think really for a while there, Thunder Predator, they were playing up to pace. They were playing the lineup that they like to play, but there was a little bit of a lull where Dark Mago was still defending his mid tower. As soon as his tower goes down, though, he runs out of a lane that he really wants to play in, and then he has to kind of look elsewhere. And I think what it really comes back to is just the overextension in the Radiant Triangle, where they kind of lost everyone and Picasso showed up to the fight. And then where the same circumstance played out, except they lost Roche instead. I think after those two engagements, the Sven specifically was so far behind. I think they got Picasso just involved a little bit too early there, where Hokori found the right pickoff. They found the right hero maybe 15 seconds prior. And then it feels like Picasso is showing up for what should be a fight if their full 5-man is alive. But because of Hokori finding, it's really just 1 or 2 hero picks before the big fight starts, they have the advantage. Picasso dies in a fight that he could either be farming, he could be waiting for a better moment. It just feels like they forced him to show up in what has been in most of their games the perfect timing, where Picasso getting involved feels like the right decision, but it feels like this time around something was disjointed, something was definitely wrong, and Hokori ended up kind of pulling them apart because of that. At the same time, they played so well around this Broodmother. Honestly, they just had all the vision in the world to make those jumps, to know what was actually going on before they made those engagements. And it comes back to kind of basic Dota. They got the high ground, they got the hills they wanted, and then they find the right jump. And every single time, Vitaly was also throwing out 4, 5, 6 bolas every single fight, 2 or 3 orchids. I think him personally, he just got way too much done with what, 4,000 or 5,000 net worth? He was just way too effective.
Yeah, shows the maybe effectiveness of Broodmother, especially in Vitaly's hands. As we said in the draft, it's sort of one of his specialty heroes. That, combined with the changes to Orchid, maybe making it a little bit better for the Brood in particular. Never really cared too much about the int coming out from that item. Now it sort of helps you fight earlier and more effectively. And 6-2 and 15, certainly a strong stat line for him, as Hokori not only get themselves a win here, trying to push their way up the standings, but they hand Thunder Awaken their first loss of this group stage. So they came out and made a statement in Game 1. The question is, what will they have to say in Game 2 of this series? We are going to have one more game between the squads, Thunder Awaken with a chance for revenge, or Hokori an opportunity for probably one of the least expected 2-0s if it does go that way, considering just how strong their opponents had been prior to this point. So we shall see what Game 2 has in store. We're going to be stepping away for about 10 minutes here, but when we come back, It'll be game 2 between Hokori and Thunder Awaken. So stick around. We'll be getting into the draft soon.